Not everyone is lucky enough to have a mentor or someone older and wiser guiding them through the unspoken rules of the workplace. Most of us just have to learn the hard way. But I'm on a mission to change that, and this podcast is that mission. Welcome to Season 2 of How to Survive Your Boss, where each episode brings real stories and practical advice from incredible professionals who've lived it. I'm Kiana, your host. Let's get into it. Welcome back to How to Survive Your Boss. I'm your host, Kiana Namoto. I've got my little sister, Tara, here joining me as my co-host. And of course, today we have the amazing Kristine Young. Have you ever wondered how someone living the dream global life manages to maintain the realities of adulting and working across the world at the same time? Well, today we've got one of the coolest inspirational readers that I know, Kristine, who's managed to turn this dream ideal into her day-to-day life. And she is an OG digital nomad. She has worked in, I think, 8 or 11 different countries in her time and has traveled to over 100. So she's scratching off half the globe easily with all of the places she's been. And she's done this while staying employable, sane, and respected across the workforce. So there is so much we can learn from her. Kristine, thank you for joining us. Is there anything about, your experience that you want to highlight for us?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to give you all the global nomad secrets that I've amassed over the years. My career has been amazing too, though. And I think it's really about the balance of having your life feel full in whatever way you want it to be full with. So I managed to pick a career path that had flexibility with location. And in some ways, marketing, which is what I do now, it's a plus to be global, right? Because markets are global. You always want to expand into new territories. And so having a global background is actually like a good thing for what I do versus like a deterrent. So you can always look at it like that. Like they don't have to be counter forces. Like these things can work together.
Yeah. No, and so we're going to unpack that with your global experience. And not just, I think that's the key thing. It's not just like one global company where you did one country. It's 8 countries, it's 8, I don't want to say 8 different companies, but probably close to that many different companies from a grand scheme, right?
Probably close to 8. I'd have to count, but we can cover that too.
Yeah, details later. Well, and so I think, a lot of us are taught in life that stability really just comes down to picking a lane, staying in your lane, and really not making any waves. And then when you want something different, I think especially with some of the new cultural changes in workplace balance, I guess in the US overall, right? Like maybe you want some remote work, maybe you want to have some travel in your job, or just in general, some flexibility. It can almost feel like you have to choose between your life and your career. I know a lot of people, for example, who've had to, relocate because their parent changes a job growing up. I know I did, right? And so there is this, ideal world where what does it look like when you can have it both? And Kristine knows. And so we're going to get all the information from her because I want to know, what does it actually take to make this international lifestyle work with work? And that's my plan. Okay. So my first question, Kristine, and this is going to just tee us off here, is how did you get started in global business? Did you start in an office? Like, I guess, where did that life find you?
Yeah, so I studied medicine. So I was your typical immigrant, very influenced by my parents type growing up. For the people who know what that is, it's like, your parents want you to be the doctor and they want you to be the engineer or whatever respectable career. And I was obedient and I thought that's what I'm going to do. I'll study medicine. But deep down, I didn't know if it was for, I was just like following someone else's playbook, right? And I hadn't done that work to ask, what do I really want? What's my life going to be about? And what are my goals and what are my dreams? I had already picked up the love for travel though. So travel and me, I didn't have a lot of money growing up. So this was something I had to wait till I was an adult because my parents, we did not go anywhere. We didn't have that extra capital to go on vacation. And so when I was 18, I took my first international trip to Peru, and it blew my mind.
Ooh, good choice.
It blew my mind. It was just such a different world than California, where I was growing up and living, and it just kind of stuck with me. I'm like, wow, like it would be great to see the world. You know, you think about all you could learn. You could learn how all these people are living their lives. And that was like a big passion of mine, but I didn't really know what to do with that. So I was studying medicine. I had this passion for travel. And I decided to marry those two things. And I did an internship and I did a program in Russia. So the very first country that I like worked and lived in was Russia, which is not everyone's first choice, I got to tell you. This was many years ago. It was the early 2000s, 2002. I moved to Russia. This was kind of even before there was internet in Russia. Like it was still a new thing. So I was out there. I was isolated from in California. I had to make all new friends. I had to learn Russian, adjust to the culture. And actually, it was during that trip, you know, med school is not an easy path and it's very time consuming. And it's very, you're kind of stuck. You're stuck in med school. Like you, there's not a lot of freedom. You can't really travel. And a lot of times your place is dictated by the school or the program or, you know, you're not normally like nomadic when you're doing medicine. So it was during that chapter, I decided I got to get out of medicine. One, because it wasn't even really my dream. I kind of realized that like I was living someone else's dream and I needed to own my own dream. And two, it wasn't going to let me travel. And that was something I identified was like a deep passion of mine. And I needed to see the world, like so desperately wanted to see all I could see. And so I just quit the program. So I did not continue with medicine. And because I was so fascinated with this life abroad, and I moved to South America. So country number 2 was Chile. And I moved to South America with like no plan. You know, I had been studying med, so this was just like plan B when there was no plan B. And, you know, my parents were like, what are you doing? You know, and I think people will always question you if you live a different path. Like there's always going to be naysayers. There's always going to be like doubters, people who like don't believe that you're making the right decision.
The haters.
The haters. I face that today with my nomadic life. With you know, I don't have a fixed residence. So a lot of times, especially back then, this was not that normal. You know, people, we didn't even have Zoom yet. So imagine, like, we didn't have Zoom. There was no
Skype
Google.
days.
Even prior, like people were not virtual.
Pre-Skype.
There was not. Yeah. There was no smartphones, right? So this was OG. You know, you mentioned OG in your intro. This was the OG days. You know, you had physical maps and people met in person, and office life was like very much the norm. Like there wasn't any digital anything. I mean, we were well before that time. But I knew this is what I wanted, right? So I kind of just stuck to my guns and moved to South America, ended up doing another internship. So I went to school at Berkeley. Biology was my major, and I had another major in poli-sci. So those were the things I was studying. So I was like, okay, let me do this internship with the Bolivian consulate in Santiago. Random, because I had no experience, but I ended up meeting the ambassador at the library, and he took pity on me and offered me a job, and I did that. And so that was like the second kind of opportunity I got to live and work abroad. Wow. And as you can tell, I did not stop there. It just kept going and going, and opportunities present themselves if you're open to them. You have to do the work. There's no like in that particular case, it was kind of handed to me, but I ended up moving to Argentina after that. You know, I hustled to find a job there. And
Tara, I told you.
And the story goes on. I lived in India. I lived in Hong Kong twice, 2 different times. I lived in Germany, all doing different things, different roles. So it's just to say that, and I didn't have any special leg up. Like this wasn't something that was handed to me by my parents. And I basically just decided that this was a global life and I needed to live it.
Oh my gosh. First off, starting in Russia is crazy.
That is wild. That is not a beginner place to start. Wild. Yeah, it's
and
not
politically
easy.
Too. At the time you went, like, wasn't the sexiest time to be doing that. That is incredible. See, I was telling Tara, I was like, your mouth's gonna drop half this conversation. Every time we chat, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
But you didn't think.
Go ahead.
Like, if you so you said that you were in pre-med and then you just dropped like completely just no more, like you just decided no more and just went off. You didn't want to switch your major and try and study abroad that way?
Well, I was already double majoring. So I finished school. So I did like finish my biology
Oh,
program.
Kristen,
I finished my,
right.
I did the responsible thing, but I did take time. I took about a semester, I think almost maybe 2 semesters, and I just traveled because I did want to experience South America without like school as being my primary focus. So
As
I took like a gap year in between my education. So like I officially withdrew from Berkeley, which was like the nightmare of my parents because I hadn't yet graduated, and I did my South America adventure kind of without a degree. And they were like, you better go back to school. This has to be a temporary situation.
The world's broken.
Exactly. Because, I was a straight A student, I was med school. So med school's very type A personalities typically, right? So this was like
and
a
Berkeley.
type C. Yeah, Berkeley as well. So this was going
Cutthroat.
rogue.
Yeah.
That's
You
incredible.
skipped type B. She went straight to type C. That is crazy.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And I've been on type C ever since. I haven't returned. Yeah, I've been living alternatively.
We've got some Berkeley grads on our side. Like our grandparents met at Berkeley. Our dad went to Berkeley.
Yeah, go
so
Bears.
we are, in many ways, aside from just understanding the story, blood related to this good Asian, go to school, get the degree, like check all the boxes, do all the things. I think that's so awesome that you were able to like find a passion throughout that and then
and
pursue
stick
it.
with it. Yeah, because it is brave to go against your parents and go against your culture in a way and go against like what everyone's telling you to do. Yeah, it's like, at the time being a doctor was like the pinnacle of society, right? And I just decided to step away from it. And honestly, no regrets. Like, and I built another career, which we can talk about too, like in marketing.
Right.
I've had pretty high level roles in huge brands, global companies doing important work. So you don't have to sacrifice career, even if you're not a doctor, right?
Yeah. Well, and I guess that kind of leads me in because just thinking about it, right? You did many different jobs globally. I just based on your LinkedIn, I thought it was just the marketing job. So now I'm like, whoa, there is so much more to Kristine than I knew. And with that in mind, I guess you've definitely built just a really solid reputation. There's this saying, right, where you spend your whole life building your reputation and you can kind of lose it with one action in the industry. And, for context, Lil T, Kristine's worked for Adidas, like Levi's, like we're talking the big sexy brands and the big sexy roles within those brands at a global scale. And so how did you, I guess, like strategically think about building this personal brand and maintaining that reputation as you kind of maneuvered through different industries, different countries, all of that in mind?
Yeah, I think with work, it's important to show up and do the work. So no matter what your lifestyle is, you still have to be dependable, perform at a high level, have your team know what you can do and that you are, providing impact every single day at work. So even when I was working remote or traveling around, I was always like showing up fully to work and really contributing to the team, and not just like floating around, because that won't last very long. People see through that and then they get frustrated, and then, your opportunities get more limited. Yeah, loyalty, like commitment to the work, performing at a high level, that still has to be top of mind as you kind of navigate your life as well. And I think that is what allows you grace. That's when people trust you, they know you, they like you, and they believe in you, you're like unstoppable at that point. Then you can make asks. And then you can be the exception, then you can say, well, I want to work remote, or I'm going to do this for a few months. And people will more often than not say yes if you are performing at a high level. So it does start with you and your performance and like making sure that you deliver, be reliable, be accountable, commit to the work and do a good job. And you'll find that the other things can.
That's interesting. I have one quick follow-up question here, because this kind of brings up a topic Tara and I have been talking about basically since starting this podcast, which is, more so towards the politics of work culture and how, you can do the best work, but if you don't tell everyone you did the best work, you don't necessarily get the credit, like kind of making sure you get the credit, making sure you get the awareness. And I think you teed it up well, where it's like you do need to have, great work ethic and you need to be able to deliver results. But how do you communicate and get the credit for that work when you're in between countries and maybe being remote? Like, do you have any tips for that?
Yeah, no, it's a good shout out. And I definitely think you need to market yourself as often as possible. People have short-term memories, they forget, and they're self-centered, more or less. So,
yeah,
they're not necessarily thinking about your great contribution, even if you feel like it's obvious. So it's never obvious, and you should always kind of communicate it. So it's a good shout to the people listening. I would say it does start with you do need some in-person time. So I'm not saying like in-person time is a bad thing. I think in-person time used wisely can be great to build your relationships, to build the trust, to build the camaraderie. And that is easier in person. So like typically when I start a new job or when I start a new contract, because now I do a lot of project work, I like to meet people in person. So I'll fly to see them. And I might be on my own dime. It might be inconvenient because I might be like on the other side of the world, but I still think you need to put in some effort in the beginning to build a good base, to build a good foundation where people kind of know you, like holistic you, not just your work. And then, every time you do something that's impactful, you got to communicate that broadly, whether it's just like emailing it out and telling people in meetings or, whatever the culture of your organization is, like Slack, Discord, whatever, and give other people credit too, because they will return the favor. So if you toot someone's horn, they're more likely to toot yours back, right? So you kind of need to get some fans, some alliances in the company. And then you can kind of riff off of each other with oh, so-and-so did such a good job. And then you know what? They're going to do the same thing with you when they see you do a good job, right? So there are some tactics like that. I think communicating with your boss what you're working on is a big one because your boss has a lot of power over your everyday. So they need
to survive them.
Yeah, they need to be your ally. You need to get on their good side and talk about what you're doing and show that you're really committed to the work and that they know that, so that when they can advocate for you in rooms that you're not in, because they're in many rooms that you don't see, right? They're talking to their boss, they're talking to other leaders in the org, and you want them to have you, one, top of mind, but two, clear examples of what you're doing. So when there's an opportunity, they can be oh yeah, Kristine, she does great work. This is what she's working on, whatever.
Getting them to be your champion in that way. There's a saying too about finding the people who say the good things about you when you're not in the room.
Definitely.
And this is the strategic corporate take on that.
Yeah.
Is that hard to do though? Because you travel so much, how do you keep in cahoots with your boss like that?
Yeah, you people do it differently. Some people like regularity, so some people enjoy having set meeting times. So every Monday we talk, or you can do more asynchronous stuff. You can send them updates X amount of times a month or a week or whatever works for you. I'm a bit more fluid. I don't mind doing things ad hoc because my life is one big ad hoc exercise. So you kind of need to match your style with their style and be accommodating to their style. You need to understand how they want to receive the information. So do they want a meeting? Do they want an email? Do they want a Slack channel that's just updated all the time? do they want PowerPoint decks? Like, you kind of need to know what works and be flexible, adapt, use their like language, because if you don't, then they're not going to understand it as clearly what you're doing. So you do need to like make some effort to understand your audience, but it is hard. It is hard, and it's easy to put it off. And I've done this too in my career, where like my boss didn't have as good of an idea, and it was always not good. It's always not good when your boss is like, I don't know what she's doing. Like, I haven't talked to her in weeks.
Right.
Like, don't get into that position, because then you have to climb out of that hole.
It's always easy to lose trust. It's very hard to maintain and build trust.
Correct. Yes. So if you have it, you got to keep it. It's like a plant, you got to water it, you got to maintain it, you got to like look after it. And like one and done isn't enough. Like, you have to keep thinking, like, okay, like, do people know what I'm doing? Am I communicating this enough? And like, over communication is never get to over communication. Like, there's never enough communication at the end of the day.
People are goldfish. They have short-term memories.
Yeah.
And I did have a question for you. How do you find like these kind of roles with these big reputable like companies and things? Like, is it just like people who you've met, or like, is it about you need to know all kinds of people?
I would say knowing people is a big part of it. Like, networking, like everyone says, is like the key to success, and having people who will vouch for you is very important. So people who like will really go to bat and say like, yeah, Kristine, she's good. Like, you should talk to her. You should take your time to get to know her. Now, I know when people are starting out in their careers, they're like, well, I don't know anyone, like, I'm just new. So like, how does that work? Right? Like, chicken and egg. I think though, in the beginning, you got to pound the pavement. You got to meet as many people as possible, and don't be scared.
Coffee.
Yeah. Don't be scared. Reach out to people, introduce yourself. Have your pitch kind of ready so people know what you do, and be likable, be nice, be gracious, but don't be scared. Like, reach out to people like all the time until you feel like you have that network. That's a good sign. And then you can start like leveraging your network a bit more strategically. But when I moved to Hong Kong, so I'll give you like an example. I moved to Hong Kong knowing 0 people. I was working in India. We didn't even get to this chapter yet, but we'll get there. I was working in India.
Sick.
For a company doing like internal consulting. So this is even before my marketing days, managing programs, expanding the India operations. And I'd met someone, and that person, and we were falling in love. It was great. And that person got a job offer in Hong Kong. And he's like, do you want to move to Hong Kong? I was super in love. So I said, yes, let's go. But I didn't know a single person in Hong Kong. I didn't have a work visa. I didn't have a job. I mean, I literally was going so cold. And again, this was before LinkedIn. This was before there was like networks of like virtual kind. So, and I had 3 months, you get a tourist visa to enter Hong Kong before they kick you out. So I had 3 months to figure out my plan. Like, what was I going to do there? Or else I had to leave. I can't just stay forever. And I was not married to this guy, so we couldn't do some like spouse thing, right? I was on my own from a visa perspective. So I emailed every single person in my email. Like, how you have your email contacts. Every single person. I told them, hey, I'm moving to Hong Kong. Do you know anyone in Hong Kong? I would love to talk to that person. And not everyone replies, obviously, but a few people did. A few people were like, yeah, this guy I used to work with, he's there. You should call him. Or I met someone at a conference. Here's his number. I called and emailed every single person that was referred to me. Every single person. I didn't care who they were. Man, woman, young, old, so I got some leads just by calling these people. And at first I was like, let's just grab coffee. Let's just talk like friends. Like, let's just, let's just catch up. Like, I'm new to Hong Kong. And it was lonely. True. Yeah, I just want to meet people, right? Like, it was all true. And one of those people who I met was working at Adidas. So, big global company, Adidas, as we say in the US, but actually in Germany, where it's from, it's Adidas. And so he was working at Adidas. I had no real, I didn't know anything about what he was doing I knew the brand because we all know the brand, but I didn't think to work there. I just was meeting him for coffee. And we met in his, he was working in a big office building, and there was a cafeteria on the bottom floor. So we met at his work. And I was explaining I had just moved, and he kind of pauses and he's like, are you looking for a job? And I was like, yes. I am, and so I was very transparent about it. I wasn't like too cool for school. I was like, yes, like, can you help? And he's like, yeah, we're hiring. You should talk to my boss because he has a role that he's looking for. And he's like, you should do it right now. And I was like, what? Like right now. So we walked up, took the elevator, met his boss, and his boss interviewed me right then and there. He's like, oh, cool. Like, you're looking for a job? I have 30 minutes. He's like, let's talk now. I have time right now. So I went from like nothing, like literally didn't know this person, to job interview within like an hour. I ended up getting the job, which was obviously a great thing. And I started my marketing career like that, working for Adidas, big global brands in Hong Kong.
My God.
No marketing background whatsoever. So this is all to say that like it was networking, but in the most like hustled networking kind of way. Like I did not know this person who worked at Adidas before I got the interview, right? So it shows that it can work. Like if you reach out to people, you gotta be pretty on it. Like you gotta go after it, right? Like these things are out there. You have to like laser in on it and go for it.
Well, I mean, first off, like on your resume, you should put turned coffee into employment plus visa.
Right,
At like Fortune 100 company. Wow.
Exactly.
So something I've been thinking about a little bit lately, when I first started my career, that concept of network is really daunting to you, right? Like you don't think you have one because the most people that you know, or maybe the most people that are on your LinkedIn at least, are like classmates. So it's not really professionals that can particularly help you a lot of the times, like just classmates who are fresh at their job, learning how things go. And I remember feeling so frustrated when I was younger about wanting to build this network. And what I learned, I think through some years of experience, different roles naturally have more exposure to network building than other roles. Like if you work with external companies versus if you're only internal at a company, those type of things. But it's kind of like collecting Pokemon cards as you go through life by being just a decent human being that somebody likes. And ideally, I like to live with a kind of like give first nature. Like I always, anybody I can help, even if I don't know you, I'm like, let me help you, because I, one, enjoy helping people, but two, I also know, and not so much in a transactional way, but I just know like it's a really good way to build a relationship and trust with somebody, even if it's something really small, like, I don't know, check on my dog at home for my neighbor or something like that. But I think like Tara at your age, she's young, she's got no network. Well, she's building one right now. She's learning, and we're working on her LinkedIn skills. She also wants to go into the medical field, but I try to explain to her how like you never know when somebody you meet at a conference, at coffee. I mean, me, if you're anything like me, I literally talk to the people that I sit next to on the plane and sometimes add them to my network. Yeah. And you never know when those contacts in 6-7 years, you can go through and be like, hey, I want to work Adidas. Let's get coffee. And boom, there you go. Like, wow.
That's it. I mean, it does take effort to approach people and be this kind of networky type person. And some people don't like it because they feel it's kind of fake and schmoozy or whatnot. I like to talk to people, so I find I don't mind it. Like I don't mind talking to people at conferences or on the plane or whatnot. So you got to still do it in a way that feels authentic, because I think people resonate if they feel like you really care and you're really into it versus like, maybe you'll get me a job. So find a way to have fun with it.
Networking for introverts.
Yeah, find a way to have fun with it. Like ask a question you're actually very curious about, And it doesn't necessarily have to be work related. It can be like, what's your tip on gardening? Whatever it is you're actually into.
True.
So that like they can be like, oh, okay, like let's talk about this. You're obviously into it, right? So or something they're into if you know something about the person. Because people like to talk, and it's good to get that baseline like interest moving.
And even as an introvert, you may not collect as many people as quickly as the extroverts that just like to hear their voice like me, so much so that I record it now. But I think, we had an introvert on just talking about, you still build a network. Like when you're a good worker, when you're a solid teammate, all of those interactions you have internally or just on your day-to-day work, it builds your reputation and it builds that network as well. So even though you may feel like you're not doing enough, or maybe you're not growing your network as fast as other people, when you are an excellent worker and you're within a company collaborating with different people, you naturally just start to kind of build up what do you call it? Like a Rolodex of contacts.
Yes, definitely. And, if you're organized about it, you can start keeping track of the people, whether that's through LinkedIn or some other sort of like CRM, that's like, okay, these are the people I've worked with. This is, kind of how I keep in touch with these people, because you do need to maintain the relationships as well. So even if it's just a simple like, hey, how are you doing? Versus like a full on coffee or like a lunch, which is more intensive. I think it is like some mistakes I've made in the past have been like letting that network go cold. Like you got to kind of keep it warm.
You got to say hi. Warm. Don't forget about me.
Yeah. Say hi, be curious about their life, ask questions. People will remember that. And it's good when you ask them for a favor that you've done that already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I've gotten better at that. I think when I was fresh in my career, I wasn't the best at like checking in, because I think maybe just with ADHD, there's this concept of out of sight, out of mind. And so you kind of just forget that you knew these people and collaborated with them to some degree just because you don't see them anymore and you don't have those projects every day. But I try to make a habit of checking in. And then when I meet new people, a new thing I'm doing is kind of just at the beginning of the year, I like to reflect on all the people that I've met. I've done this now 2 years, and kind of just say thanks. Like, I know, Kristen, that's kind of how we got back in touch, because I completely dropped the ball in a conversation Kristen and I was having while I was in Tokyo, and basically just fell off the face of the earth due to like family stressors. And when I came back, I felt like I had neglected all of these people that were so important to me and all these conversations that were so important to me. At the time when I was neglecting them, I was too stressed out to even think about being a human. But as soon as I came home, I was like, I gotta say hi. It's been a while. And from each of those, I've had, different nice reconnections, different contacts, and, some future guests too. So I guess it's about building that network as you go and then nurturing it, loving your friends.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's one of the great things about work is they can be your friends. Like they're not just colleagues. Like you can develop more important relationships like through work. And then those are the people, like the most recent roles I have been because I'm friends with the people. So that's now how I get my roles is through my friends. So who I've also worked with, like they're both former colleagues, now friends, but I think it's the friend piece that matters the most.
Get their cell phone number, then you're in there.
Yes.
That's always a good sign. Gosh, that's like fascinating. Yeah, I'm wondering, Kristine, I guess, so we kind of talked about like networking is a really important thing, but not everybody does it the same way or is as sociable, right? And able to kind of collect these contacts. Is there any specific traits, or maybe there's like a certain aptitude that you think really works, or maybe is at a bare minimum required for international business? Maybe like a personality trait or
I don't know. I do. I think you first and foremost have to be flexible. Being like rigid or too like set in your ways is going to be a struggle because things are different. And so you need to just know that things aren't going to be the same every day. So flexibility, adaptability. So you need to like customize your approach to the culture, to what's happening on the ground, to your teammates, to the language, and the ways of working are different in every place. So you need to adapt, and in order to be successful, you need to kind of like get with their program. I think also communication, like I said, is like you like communicate, especially if there's like a cultural language barrier. Like don't assume they know what you're talking about, and you might not know what they're talking about, right? So you got to ask questions. You got to communicate that because they, so much is lost in translation, literally and like metaphorically. So don't just assume, like ask the questions, be super clear when you talk, like use your words out loud, not like in your head, like use your words so that people know what you mean. Cause
maybe written down for translation.
Yeah. Written down, have the face-to-face if you need to, like just, those are some of the things I think are extra. You have to do them extra when you work abroad or travel abroad because the norms are different. So they're, you're not operating from the same playbook.
I worked with some CEE companies, and they sent me, I think like either a table or an Excel spreadsheet, one of the sorts. And instead of a period, they use a comma. and they like, so when you like type in a number, if it's $1.50, it's like 1 comma
Yeah.
50.
Yeah. They do that in Europe.
That blew my mind. I was like, what do you mean you don't use the period? How do you not break Excel? What? Like,
Exactly.
so I don't know. That's like a specific example, but I just think about that to your point of like, you have to have a curiosity to understand these differences, and then like the patience to ask or research or take a step back, right?
Yeah. And you have to use the comma, because if you use the period, they won't know what you're talking about, right? So you said to use the comma.
True.
Yeah, like another like very standard example is just like when you write the dates. So in America, we write March 2nd, like 3-2. But in the rest of the world, it's the opposite. You write the day first and then the month. So March 2nd is 2-3, right? If you do it your way, you're going to confuse everyone over and over and over again, right? So like, don't do it your way. Do it their way. Like that is the way to do it, is do it the way that people get it. Like you have to get out of your, this is how I do it kind of thing. Because it's going to be so much trouble for you.
And I think the extra accommodation is always very well received from the other cultures, I think. I know for me personally, I always try to learn hello and thank you for any language that I work with. And I'm nowhere near even close a pedigree as Kristine here, but I have worked with some international business. I've touched Europe, I've touched other countries. And little things like setting a like sending availability in their time zone.
Yes.
It just, I don't know how to explain it, but it creates this like, oh, you're easy to work with. And you kind of, make my life a little easier. I want to keep working with you.
Yes. That is it. It's really just thinking about them versus thinking about yourself and like how they'll receive the information, what they're going to do with it. In business, that's really important because the work is hard already. So don't like make it harder by not like putting yourself in their shoes.
True. Make them like you so that they say nice things about you when you're not in the room.
In the room.
See, we talk about that all the time.
Yes, always.
Lil T's still in her teen angstiness, a pinch, I'd say. So sometimes she's like, she likes to joke with me and tell me that she has that personality trait where she'll bitch about some work. She'll do it gladly, but she will go with a little resistance because it's her personality. And I was like, I can't wait to see how that plays out in medical school.
Not well, I know that.
We're working on it. Every day we get closer to little corporate tea.
Live your dream. Live your dream. Whatever that is.
Oh, this girl. She know. Maybe I might be like you. Maybe I might just go everywhere. Everywhere. Type C hard to the max.
Hey now.
Hey, I'm a fan.
In 3.5 years, Kristine, when Tara cancels her plans for medical school, I will be sure to reference this podcast to our Asian family so that they know why we don't have the doctor.
Okay. Hopefully they don't hate me. Hopefully they're like understanding. Yes, but you can blame me. That's fine. I'll take the heat on this one. You can, just don't give them my email address, please. But yes.
Yeah, fine. No, I think I've been dealing with this thought in my head recently of like, sometimes I just wish I was a starving artist. Like I was so passionate about something I'm like, I'll give it up. I'll live in my car. I'll eat ramen every day. Like I'll do it all. And it is so inspirational to talk with somebody who has that passion and quite literally deleted all of these other things and pursued it so successfully while also just maintaining a sense of like wonder, I guess, and like novelty throughout all of it.
Yeah. No, I think it is challenging to give up the other dreams too, because we're all multifaceted people, right? So I also wanted a career, and I also wanted like status and to be respected. And I think in my mind, career was a good way to feel like you're in society and being a productive part of society. So I didn't just want to travel because that would have, I think, not been enough because I'm like have other things I desire in my life. So it was important to find that marriage of like, how can I have a successful career that I feel proud that I can like say like, yeah, I'm proud that I did these things and I worked at these companies and I had these, you know, these high roles and got to see the world also. And there's certain pressure too. Like, I don't know if it's getting less and less, but you know, when I was growing up, it was like, okay, when are you going to buy your house? And when are you going to be adults? Right. And like all this adulting that needs to happen with your life, like set up your 401k and, you know, do these things. And I felt like as much as I love to travel, I also needed to do those things. Like I wasn't immune from the pressure of like becoming an adult.
Yeah. The whole like get married. I was just in a random onsen in Tokyo, and
Sounds
this
lovely.
old obachan. Right. It was great, except for I'm sitting there. If you know anything about Japanese onsen, you're butt naked.
Yeah.
I'm butt naked, just chilling in a chair, trying to catch my breath. And this old obachan starts talking to me, and I'm like, oh no, I don't speak perfect Japanese. What's going on? And she just starts. She's like, you know, what are you doing here? And we kind of talk about it a little bit, and then somehow it kind of turns into like, you're not married? And I'm like, no, I'm not married. And she's like, how old are you? I'm like, I'm 28. She's like, you're almost 30.
Oh,
You
yeah.
realize that, right? I was like, yes, I'm aware I'm almost 30. Thank
I
you.
remind her constantly.
She was like, yeah, Tara just says I'm 30. It's offensive, but it is what it is. You know, at the beginning of my career, I used to like inflate my age so that people were nicer to me because being the young one in the room isn't exactly great. But anyways, this woman basically grilled me, just complete stranger, grilled me for 20 minutes about how I like, if I don't get married by the time I'm 30, when am I going to have kids? And am I really thinking about my future if I don't jump into marriage right now?
Yeah.
And also butt naked, both of us. So I'm just like, I don't know. I feel you. I can't even imagine. Like, I'm already in those pressures, and so I can't imagine that pressure with also changing locations every couple years.
Extra hard.
Yeah, it is. It's a balancing act. There's a lot to take into account all the time. I don't mind it because I'd rather do this than not do this. But I wouldn't say global life is like a simple life. It's more complicated, you know? So if you're not into logistics and planning and organizing, then yeah, maybe this life isn't for you because there's a lot of that. And you're also trying to match it with like these other things, right? Your career and your adulting stuff that we just talked about. I would say like if I had just stayed in one place, it would have been so much easier, you know, like, and like life in general would have been easier. Easy's not my plan, or it's not like the goal is easy for me. Like, I'm fine. You know, I want my life to feel fun and full versus easy.
I mean, you went to medical school at Berkeley.
Well,
Kristine
yeah,
is not taking the easy path.
Correct. Yeah. And the whole program in Russia was so difficult. Like, it would have just been easy to do that in the US, right? So there's just so many things that I've done that, like, don't really, you got to want it, right? You got to want it, or else it doesn't make sense.
Starving artist. Starving traveler.
Yes.
In a sense.
But I also don't want to be starving. That's the thing. So I want to be just a traveler.
Not starving.
Not starving.
Straight up well-fed. Well-fed traveler.
Yes, well-fed.
Wow.
Ideally Michelin
That's a good
star, you know, like a Michelin star fed traveler. If we can, if I can, you know, identify, that would be the
good correction point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Totally. We're just go for gold, right? So
got me there.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's I mean, I hope this is like giving you the message that it is all possible. Like all these arrangements are, you know, within reach, and I hope people go after it because it is so rewarding to have like kind of have your package. The thing that makes you feel good is amazing.
That's awesome. I'm like, sorry, I can't get over the whole
Everything.
Michelin star fed traveler. That's like, I'm like,
that's
that
just
might be that's
like
the title of
yeah, that's what this podcast episode, like, you can call it that.
Screw
you know?
starving artists, like Michelin star traveler. Okay, well, this is, I have like one question I'm dying to ask because I know we're coming close to time here. I am like, all of this sounds fascinating. I'm sure I could ask you more about like misconceptions, things like that. But real talk, how do you maintain like normal adult things always being in these, like, for example, doctors or insurance or like dental care? I've been thinking about this. I'm like, how?
Yeah, this could be a whole other episode, but let's get into it. Because yeah, there's a lot here. There's a lot to unpack.
Okay.
I would say there's a couple different options. So you could have a hub and spoke model, meaning like you pick one place that's like your hub. You travel, but you always come back to like the same place. And then that's the place where you kind of have your doctors and your dentists and you pay your taxes there and you do your like admin in this hub place. That's one model. And I did that for a number of years where kind of like I would do these extended stays, but like all of that organizational admin was done in like one spot, which in my case is San Francisco. I've also done the other model, which is like you do everything when you need it on the road. So recently, because I travel all the time now, I went to the dentist in Seattle. I don't have a dentist in Seattle. I walked into a place, like a random place, had 4.9 stars on Google. That was enough. Knocked on the door and it was like, hey, can I see the dentist? And they were like, do you come here? I'm like, no, I don't. I'm brand new. Like, and
what's your address?
I actually paid for it out of pocket because they didn't accept my insurance. So I was just like, that's fine. I paid for it out of pocket. You know, that's an option. Here's some other like hacks for that. Other countries have amazing healthcare. So I've done my physical in Thailand. Wonderful experience. They give you a robe, like a spa. You walk in, they give you this beautiful robe, like you've just walked into a spa. They give you tea when you, like, I've never had tea at the doctor's office. And they, you know, you walk into these beautiful rooms. Like, it's all very, because a lot of countries have, like, medical tourism, for example. And that's a thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so much cheaper to do it there than it would be in the U.S. I mean, a lot of places, healthcare is actually affordable, not like the U.S. So you can have great healthcare on the road if you're thinking about it, but you should think about it. Like if you haven't had a physical in 10 years, you should have it, you know? So you got to plan for when those things happen and ideally like match it. You know, not every country is a good destination for physical. So you kind of need to know what countries are you going to? How does this fit with like my life stuff? Like another thing is like gyms. So I used to be this gym goer every single day when I lived in a place. Then I started traveling and that kind of all went by the wayside, right? But now I'm trying to like get back into it. So I do a variety of things. ClassPass works globally. So not every country, but like in Europe and other places, you can use ClassPass. So if you know what that is, it's like a subscription.
Yeah.
You can use, if you want to go to like yoga or bar or cycle, you can do it in other countries. In cities, I get gym memberships just for the week. So you can often like walk into a place and negotiate like a temporary gym. Yeah. Trial, whether free or paid. Lots of options like that aren't advertised. So that's how you can like do like your gymming or like when I stay in places for longer than a week, I get an apartment so I can like cook versus eat out every day, right? These are things you got to think about. Like, how am I going to eat in all these places? Do I want to have an apartment? How am I going to do laundry? Laundry is a struggle always because you never know where you're going to wash your clothes. Yes.
Laundromats are an American thing, I've learned. Snap, I didn't even think about laundry.
Oh, yeah. Laundry is a real challenge.
So you're telling me you've got a lot of like bathroom sink action, like air drying.
I mean, more often than not, it's literally just buying new stuff. Yeah, like if you're low on socks, you just buy new socks. You know, like I'm actually not washing them that often. Like unless
not
I have a washing machine.
Exposing myself.
You know?
Right.
But yeah, but these are things seriously, like when you book places, they become priorities. You're like, okay, do I have good laundry in this place? Like, or is it accessible to laundry at the very least? Because if you're in a hotel, you're not paying $20 to dry.
I know, it's so expensive.
Your shirts, you know, or like it can be very expensive to do laundry in like a hotel.
Yeah.
So you
even in foreign countries.
Oh yeah, it's like a universal ripoff. No matter where you go, they will never give you a fair price for laundry. It's like a rule of the world.
True.
All these things become a bit of like overhead. Laundry, you know, your hospital, your checkups, and taxes. I still, as a U.S. citizen, you have to pay taxes in the U.S. no matter what. So I do.
Right.
And that's just what it is. And then you have to know what the tax laws are in every country you go. Because if you
Yeah.
stay a certain number of days, you also pay taxes
Oh my
there.
God.
So you have to keep all of this in mind. It is a big jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, sorry. I'm like processing in real time, just fathoming taxes if you lived in two different countries plus
Yes.
I'm like, how? Because like, yeah, you're right. I think in some places, it's like if you've lived here more than 90 days consecutively or 6 months consecutively. And like you worked here, then you have to pay taxes. And so then you have to start breaking up your wages and paying taxes on portions. And like there are certain companies that I know when team members will travel, like US team members will travel. This is like the big guys where they really follow all the rules, or they try to, where they won't let them like close an actual project if they're meeting international people. They have to like do that work at home, or else the taxes are due in this country. So they can build the relationship, they can get things like as close as possible to done, but they can't do anything final because they have to go home and do that in order to not have to pay the taxes on. I don't know.
Yes,
Wild.
it's wild. Yes, like opening
Do you
up
have a
bank
CPA?
accounts. So funny. I'm looking for one. So if you know a CPA, I am looking for one.
Okay.
That could be my ask. Is a CPA.
A CPA
Yeah.
in California?
California. Yep.
Or, hey, we will have a conversation after this because I've actually spent the past, no, fun fact, because our family's estates in California. And so we've been looking for California CPAs. Anyways, I have managed to find a massive list of CPAs. None of them can help me with our challenges because they're too complicated. But I've got I think I have like at least 2 that we're accepting new clients. So I'll send that to you afterwards.
All right. There it
And
is.
maybe someone will listen to this and say like, hey, Kristine, that challenge sounds fun.
Yeah, and you gotta at least have a good attitude. It might not be fun, but you gotta figure it out when you're on the road. There's a lot of this like problem solving. And I actually feel that's what I like about it, is that my brain is always working. Like there's always some problem I'm trying to like unpack, and like some like thing that it's like, yeah, it's a bit of problem solving at like a pretty sophisticated level every day when you travel and work.
Super
and do all those
sophisticated
things.
level.
Yeah.
Across the board of just like personal life, laundry, taxes, work. I mean, it's incredible. You are an absolute marvel, Kristine.
Oh,
And
thank
I'm,
you.
like,
You need
so
someone to
grateful.
follow you around with the camera.
Right.
I want to
Also
see your
true.
day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Where's the influencer era?
We'll
Literally.
go to some cool places. I tell you that. That's for sure.
Wow.
So, like last year, 2025, I went to over 20 countries. So my life was spread over
What?
20 countries. Yeah. So it was
Yeah,
a
you need a TV show.
it was
She
a
needs a
great
TV show.
year. And
Someone
then, like,
follow her around with a tripod, please.
Maybe I'll switch my major. Maybe
There you go.
maybe I will see you.
right.
Maybe little T will be your.
Yeah.
I love
the
that.
medicine,
No, I mean,
medicine. Who needs that? You know.
hey, most of the rest of the world has crooked teeth, anyways, little T.
Facts.
So,
This is true.
you know.
True.
No, this was awesome. I mean, Kristine, I could definitely talk to you. I definitely think. I mean, we didn't even get through like half the questions we
I
had
know.
out
I
here.
feel bad. Do you want to do like
No.
a rapid fire or something, or do you have enough content? Like, do we
We
even?
definitely have enough content. I think I would love to have you again after we get this episode edited and we could go through the other half of the questions, because I also want to hear more about the stunt in India. Like, what?
Yeah.
That's a crazy country.
It is
I
wild.
had some like fan favorites. So I'm going to end it on just like one dying question, and then we'll like, I think if you're open to it and you have time in the coming months after we edit this and you like it, we'll try to schedule another one. But the one I'm like really curious about was, what was your favorite country that you've worked in or with, I guess, like if you were, doing dual geographic locations, and why?
Yeah, so that role I told you about in Hong Kong was for Adidas, and I was doing global marketing operations for APAC. So it was like 14 different countries in Asia Pacific, all the way from like Japan to China, Southeast Asia, Australia, New Zealand. So it was a big geography, and we worked with all those countries doing marketing plans for launching campaigns. Like we worked on the Beijing Olympics, just very
What?
cool.
What?
Like, yes, like like with like Asian pop stars and like doing like massive amounts of brand building in countries that, because the good thing about marketing is you learn about people. Because marketing is all about connecting with people. So when you do global marketing, like I have, you get to learn about like what is life like in Vietnam. Like we launched the brand in Vietnam when I was there. Like you start to like really get to know what business is happening on the ground in all these different countries and how your brand like plays a role in it. And it was super fun. You know, we would have business trips in Tokyo, like go shopping in Seoul for work. And it was jet set. It was dynamic. I was learning a ton. Hong Kong at the time, it's changed a bit in recent years, but Hong Kong was like a center of Asian business. So if you did business in Asia, Hong Kong was like a great hub for that. Had the best airport, you know, connecting flights everywhere. And a lot of like global brands had their Asia hub in Hong Kong because it was like China, but not China, you know, and now that's changed. And a lot of the hubs have moved to Singapore.
I was going to say Singapore is the new hub now.
Yeah, but when I was there, it was like prime time for Hong Kong, and I loved it. So my work in Hong Kong was one of my favorite like chapters. I was there for 4 years, so I really got to like learn about the region in this in-depth way. And I went to every country in Asia, not because of work, but because I wanted to. But it was a dream. It was so fun, and I would do it all over again.
Yeah. This is like putting Emily in Paris to shame. Absolutely shredding that show. This is like, are you kidding me? Like 1 week you're in Tokyo, doing a little shopping downtown, bebop over to Seoul for some yummy like kimbap, and then
exactly
like round it off in Hong Kong. What?
Yes, yes, it's a good life. It's a good life.
You are officially a role model of mine. I was already looking up to you in a lot of ways, but wow. Like, this was an incredible conversation. I feel really inspired. I was having a really tough day today, but I feel like very motivated right now. So thank you for that.
Great. Well, it's a good way to start your weekend. It's Friday after all. So go out there, do some travel, book a flight, you know?
Book a flight. Never look back.
Yeah.
Maybe not Russia right now, though.
Not Russia right now. Yes. You know, I was in Moldova over just a few weeks ago. So Moldova is former USSR, right next to Ukraine.
Yeah, right.
And Soviet. You know, it's funny, like life still goes on. You know, like even though you think, oh, it's so crazy right now, the politics and things, like people are still living there and they're still doing their thing. And so, you know, even in these kind of like contested areas, not to say you should go there right now, but they're still interesting is my point. Like there's still something, life and culture and history and so much going on in these places. So eventually it's worth it to go.
Yeah. No, I mean, I had employees in Ukraine when the war started, like actually there. And that was crazy because they're working, but they don't have electricity all the time. Like you kind of, you know, life still goes on. But Kristine, it was incredible to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. It was an incredible conversation. I know I learned a lot. I have also just a ton of ideas and inspiration right now, which is exactly why I'm doing this podcast, because it gives me and my little sister a sense of what adults who are crushing it and living the dream and also, you know, coming out of not the dream moments look like. So I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. You can catch Kristine at kyglobal.co. And also, I think your LinkedIn is a pretty good spot to reach out to you if there's any companies here that want to hire one of the coolest, most global people I know. Anything else to plug, Kristine? You got like a newsletter or maybe an Instagram traveler page we can all watch?
Not yet, but I'll let you know.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe you can help me like create that. That's gonna be the future topic.
Hey, absolutely. Our editors and like I've found people globally to like not charge me an arm and a leg to help me make this podcast. So there's hope here.
And they crush it.
Yeah. So absolutely. So if this episode hits home, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and send it to a friend who's probably dreaming about traveling, maybe trying to work, probably not thinking they can do both, and maybe they just need a little inspiration on how to make their dreams come true. Kristine, thank you so much again.
Thanks
Can't
for
wait to
having
have
me.
you on again.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Peace and love.